All right. Hey, gang. Welcome back for another Q&A with Scott Myers. I was able to grab him in his busy schedule. Coach Rowell here. Scott, how are you doing before we jump into the thick of things?
I'm doing fantastic, Roel. Good to see you again. How are you?
I'm doing great. The last 2 weeks just flew by for me personally. I just can't imagine how it must be for you.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I don't want to look too far ahead because if I do, it's the end of the summer already, and we're already lamenting that. So enjoying our time with the kiddos, and looks like school's starting back early again. So yeah, we're trying to carve out time amidst this busy schedule to make time for everyone.
And what I was referring to in particular, I know you know what I'm talking about, is you're doing at least two capital raises right now. So I
Yeah.
was looking around the comments on social media and I know we kind of touched upon this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, but it's quite apropos right now because you're in the midst of doing something very exciting. What I'd like to ask you is how has the environment changed for syndications in today's economic climate for those who are raising private equity?
hmm Yeah, so this is the first essentially that we've been doing during, amidst the COVID and the recession. So as we talked a couple of weeks ago, I said, we'll sit tight and we'll see. Well, we've got one capital raise and we're in the process of filling right now, and then two more next week, but we're in the throes of marketing and preparing for that. So we'll have three ongoing and then another 2 to 3 in the pipeline immediately after that, and even more. So we've been preparing for this for several years, knowing that once we headed into the next recession, that we would be utilizing our private equity groups even more so, and our partners are investing with us. Well, this time around, a lot of folks out of work. A lot of folks have a 401k that they're converting to self-directed IRA that need to either start generating some cash or create a retirement plan. Continue to create their retirement plan as they're finding their next gig, their next job, or starting their own business. And so, for all reasons, we have a whole lot of folks with private equity for money to invest. And as you look around the investment landscape, once again, all roads point to self-storage during this recession. It is recession resistant, it is inflation resistant. The returns that we're seeing, businesses are, well, just because of the way the industry is reacting right now, and that is businesses are downsizing or closing, individuals are downsizing, and there will be even more of that as we head further into this recession. When the colleges shut down, there's a rush to storage. So all the reasons that storage is doing so well makes it perform very well. And so from an investment standpoint, the returns that we're able to offer our equity partners are unmatched. They just can't find this in other forms of real estate right now because the others are going in the opposite direction. Whereas self-storage is completely up and to the right during this time frame. So there are some folks, it's not without challenges because our list of equity partners that we normally go to that get involved in our projects, some of them are holding on to their cash a little tighter and doing some minimum investments. But for each one of those instances, we have a whole lot more folks that are, for the becoming first-time private equity partners in our projects with us, and that's offsetting anybody that may be scaling back just a little bit. So we're certainly not having any issues fulfilling our private equity partnerships as our projects come down the pike. There's a whole lot of folks that are very interested, and so yeah, we've been extremely busy just getting these up and our folks into our back end, our portal, and our system, and introducing them to us. Those that are coming in to work with us for the first time, again, along with the projects themselves. So a long-winded answer to your question, Roel, but yeah, we've been extremely busy, but this is what we've been preparing for, and it's everything we had expected.
hmm Now, I want to kind of take small step back. For some of us who may be part of the community that are a little bit newer, the term private equity, I remember because I'm a certified financial planner and
Mm-hmm.
background, the term private equity sounds big. It sounds institutional, but we're not talking about institutional money necessarily here, right? We're
No.
talking about individuals investing in these projects. Can you kind
Yeah.
of fill that out a little bit?
Yep. Good question. Sorry, you and I talk about this every day, and so the rest of the folks may not be familiar with it.
Yeah, it's a lot of jargon for
it
the,
is.
new
It is. So
person.
thanks for bringing me back down again. So I guess for investors that are in the single family realm, they're used to private equity may mean like a hard money loan. So they got a hard money lender that they're utilizing some money to buy a house with and then pay them back when they sell it or something along those lines. Where on the commercial real estate side and in self storage, if these folks typically will have money that they've set aside in a self-directed IRA or a real estate 401k that they can invest. Some invest with us with their investable cash, kind of like a hard money lender, but our projects are anywhere from 3 years to 5 years usually, or somewhere in between. And these folks will invest with us for that amount of time, and they become partners. They get equity, and so they have a share of the ownership of the LLC, and therefore they get K1. K1's at the end of the year. They share in the depreciation, and they become part owners with us. And then we give them a return in terms of cash flow along the way, and then a big pop on the back end when we sell the facility. So they come in, provide the down payment with other folks, the equity portion of the deal, and then move along as we partner through the project.
So Scott, what I'm wondering is, can you fill out the profile or describe the profile of a typical equity partner? Like, is this a mom and pop type of typical middle class couple, or is this like a professional with an office and staff, or? Can you help fill that out so we get a picture of that?
Yeah, these are typically individuals. Many times they've changed jobs, and they've had a 401k that was invested in that company stock, or perhaps in mutual funds or something along those lines. And then when they leave, they have the ability to convert that into a self-directed IRA, which means they can self-direct their investments. So they may have $50,000, $500,000. Into a retirement fund, and they can transfer that over to a new custodian that allows them to self-direct it. So they can buy shares in our projects. And so we set up an LLC, and in the operating agreement, it has shares that they can purchase. And so they buy into that company, that LLC, that is going to take ownership of the self-storage facility and then get the benefits that we just talked about. We have some folks that we work with that represent some family offices, which are groups of individuals or a family, of a well-known brand or a company, and they have tens of millions of dollars to invest, and then this one individual acts as their own personal financial advisor, similar to your former profession, Roel, and they invest on behalf of this family office, and so they may buy larger chunks or shares. But for the most part, those are the two camps that we operate in, the two types of partners. Some family offices, a little bit of institutional money from here and there from different sources, but 98% or more of the folks that invest with us are individuals.
Mm-hmm. And in our community, I think it would be fair to say that the majority are individuals. Mm-hmm. So you mean to tell me like a person who, typical married couple, family, middle class or so, that might have this money invested in their self-directed, typically it would be in the mutual funds and stock market. They actually have the ability to pull it out of that and then put it into one of the offerings that you're doing right now. Is that right?
Absolutely. And to expand that a little further, Roel, we've got a lot of folks, and we see, in our greater community, obviously we teach people how to get into the business. We teach people how to raise private equity on their own, and syndicate and put these deals together like we're doing. And many of our students have gone on to do so. But even, to back up several steps, many folks are looking to get into self-storage either by actively, going out, finding and acquiring their own self-storage facility and coming up with a down payment, or raising their own private equity, or to do a development. And then there's other folks that are looking to get into the business, and they realize, wow, my job or my own business that I'm in right now requires too much work and time. I don't have the ability to do that. Or to buy a $2 million facility, if I have to come up with that money on my own, or raise the private equity, that'll take a long time. And so they may have, $50, $100, $150,000 set aside, and they'll invest that with us in our one of our private equity offerings. That way they get into the business. The returns that we're offering are substantial, not as much as if you do it on your own, obviously, but darn close. And that way they can also learn the business while they're investing in ours through our reporting and the webinars, and keeping them up to date on the project themselves. They can see all the due diligence and go through the process as if they were buying their own. So they get an education alongside of that, and the added benefit of then becoming an owner. As soon as we close, they become an owner. They get equity in it, so that when it's time to go out and do their own project, when they go to the banks, to the lenders and their own private equity group, they can say, yes, I have experience. I am an owner in self-storage. And so for the banks, it ticks that box. And sometimes that is, that's worth its weight in gold to get them over the hump to be able to tap into lending. And then further, when they begin to raise their own private equity, obviously the more partnerships and projects they're involved in, the easier it is for them to be able to raise capital. So many people, get their feet wet, so to speak, in the business by investing in one of our projects as a private equity partner. And that way they get to go along and learn and get all the benefits of ownership. And then they do their next project on their own.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like for people who are fairly new to self-storage investing, they could use the passive side of investing, participate in somebody else's professionally managed project, which you would be highly influential or if not taking the lead on. They could use it as a stepping stone for getting their own facility, or it sounds to me they could also just continue to be passive, silent investors and just keep abreast of everything that's happening. Is that?
Yeah. Absolutely. And before I forget, Roel, because that's what happens these days with everything that's going on. If somebody's interested in looking at what that looks like, so selfstorageinvesting.com is our main hub in terms of our site for teaching people about the business. Our private equity side is over at passivestorageinvesting.com. So, if anybody, has an idea or desire to see what that looks like and what our private equity offerings look like as they prepare and look to get into their own storage facilities, they're going to develop a site like that at some point. So I would suggest you go over there and take a look at that. We've got, the offerings that are up, that are active right now that you're able to invest in are there. But, beyond that, look at the back end, look at the copy and the way that we've created that website and everything that goes into that. So you understand, what type of a product, meaning the website and the offering you're going to be putting in front of your folks. I think that's a good place to start as people begin to do their own research.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I know you have a lot of information on those that are time sensitive, those two capital raises. Did you want to plug those now, or do you want to direct them to?
Oh, we're always raising capital. So, with some type of a project. So depending upon when somebody watches this, either the date this comes out or several years in the future, I would still recommend going over to passivestorageinvesting.com, take a look at the offerings that we have. And again, you get a sense for what is, what we're seeing in the marketplace. We're doing our best to beat the returns of just about anybody else out there, our competitors, who may be having these private equity offerings on, say, apartments or mobile home parks, or even other self-storage facility syndicators. The returns that we offer, we try to be a little bit, sweeter than the other ones out there to be able to attract more capital. So again, just, look at those offerings that we have from that standpoint, how to put it together, how we've put them together so that you understand what that looks like. And, look at the copy, look at the level of and the attention to detail that we put into these, because just know that when you put these projects out there, you do have to put your best foot forward. So from that standpoint, and then of course, if anybody is interested in investing in any of our projects, as I mentioned, that is absolutely a fantastic way to not only get a great return on your investment, especially if you've got money that has been set aside for getting into a self-storage facility or commercial real estate and it's been there for a while. You may want to put it to use, earning some money and learning while you move along. So with that, you get a good understanding of what we do by heading over to that site.
Mm-hmm. Now, I was just thinking of something too. Hopefully it's not opening up a whole other segment, but I'm going to ask the question anyways, is if somebody who is fairly new to this and says, yeah, that sounds very interesting. I have taken a look in the past, or I will. And how do they prepare to invest with you?
No, very good question. As we mentioned, most folks use a self-directed IRA vehicle, and so we do. If that's something that somebody is interested in doing, when you click on, send me more information for the package. If you don't already have a self-directed IRA or a real estate 401k set up, we have folks that we partner with that we send our folks over to say, hey, these are the folks that'll help you with that and give you a number of those companies to choose from that'll set that up. So again, you can invest with your own cash, just the way it's taxed is a little bit differently, a little bit higher than if you were to set it up with another investment vehicle, like a self-directed IRA or a real estate 401k. The tax treatment is a little bit more beneficial when you're investing with one of those vehicles. And so again, without getting into too much detail, as you mentioned, Noel, we could talk a lot about that. It is best for folks to talk to their CPA or their advisor to find out which, what would be best for them, what type of vehicle, and the ways to be able to invest in one of these projects. And it's all dependent upon your investment objectives. If you're looking to take cash out or create a gain and be able to utilize that money right away, you may not want to put it into some type of an investment vehicle. But if you want to avoid those capital gains and let the the wealth continue to accumulate until retirement, then that's one of those that you would want to set up an account in order to take advantage of that and do it in that manner.
Mm-hmm. So it's important to note that yes, there are some very experienced people who are part of our community, but also for people looking to get in, this is a big reason why you have the education side, correct?
Of course, that's the idea, and that's the reason why it all comes back to the education, making the entire industry smarter about this when they go about doing it, so that they don't go somewhere else and well, heaven forbid, lose any money. But we feel that, again, this is one of the best ways to be able to create wealth in real estate, and again, without all the hassles of tenants and toilets and trash, which many people have heard before. If anybody else has found anything out there that beats it, both on the passive side or active side, I'd be happy to see or hear it, because I haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome. So it's just a great reminder that it's like top to bottom, soup to nuts, educating someone who's brand new to this, and then also being able to have the opportunities for people who are a little bit more or a lot more experienced can also still be a part of the community that we built.
Yep. That's the entire goal that we're striving for each and every day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I know you're super busy. Thanks again so much for your gracious time and accommodating these questions every so often.
Fantastic. No, I love it. It gets me out and it pulls me away a little bit. And once again, love to be able to help folks along and in any way that we can. So keep them coming, Roel. Good to see you.
Awesome. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
All right. Thanks. Take care.
Thanks again for joining us here at Self Storage Investing. We really appreciate it. For more great content like this, make sure to click the subscribe button below this video. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and BiggerPockets. You can also visit us at our main website at selfstorageinvesting.com, where you'll find even more free content, our ebook, and registration to our free webinars and education courses, and much more. Once again, for more great content like this, please click the subscribe button below. Thank you.